welcome back to the Power Barn. It's a Wednesday afternoon. I just got done mowing the yards mowing the yard after work here. Felt like getting a start on the old Monte Carlo here. I'll go through what we're going to be doing on it. We're going to be doing some brake work and some rear end work on it. The rear brakes pulsate really bad right now. I do believe the drums are oval or oblong, and that's what's giving our pulsating pedal. But let me go over the parts area here. So we've got rear end rebuild kit, new bearing seals, shims, all that. Longer wheel studs to account for our extra thickness of the rotors for the disc brakes. New disc brake, or not disc brake, but an adjustable proportioning valve that I had for a long time anyways. New fancy performance diff cover. It's got the little adjusters here that are supposed to preload the bearing caps and strengthen it up. We have rear brakes off of a 98 to 02 F-body Z28 and or Trans Am. So I do believe they are a 12-inch rotor. I'll grab a tape measure here and check, but they are not so much a direct bolt-on. You do have to modify the rear end a little bit, but they are supposed to be a direct kind of fit and easy swap onto the 7.5, 7.625, the 10-bolt rear ends. So we're going to see how that all goes. All right, we're going to get started here, and then I'll bring you back when we got some. So we got the tape measure out here, and they are, in fact, 12-inch rotors. So that should be a nice upgrade for the rear here. So we're going to get in the drum off here, and we found it's still got the factory holder honor clips on the old drum here. So we will see what these look like when I get them off here. Show you the trick that I was always taught when I was learning how to do this all, was if you take a pair of diagonal cutters and you just grab them like so, and you get one tang like that, and then you just snap. That's the easiest way to get those off. All right, well, back again. It's Thursday after work here. Rear end is out of the car. Wasn't too painful. Unhooked the brake line, unhooked parking brake lines, 4 bolts for the trailing arms, 2 nuts for the shocks, and out it came on the jack, so that wasn't too bad. Do need to put some new shocks in this thing. They're pretty wasted, I'd imagine so. I mean, at 103,000 miles, they're about due for replacement. So got that to add to the list too. Got the rear ends out on the bench here. I like getting it, up into your working zone here. So not too bad. It was leaking when I bought it. The front pinion, or the pinion seal, was leaking, and I had changed that, and that's how I kind of discovered that the carrier had a little bit of side-to-side play in the internals there in the bearings. I mean, you could take this thing, and she's pretty loosey-goosey here. Which, I mean, you get some knock like that anyways, because things are going back and forth hitting each other. But you'll see when you get pulled apart. I might throw the old micrometer on it, and we'll be able to see the carrier moving back side to side. If we can't even you can feel it, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. So next steps is get cover off, fluid drained, backing plates off. Axles will have to come out before backing plates come off. Get brake lines off. Basically get everything stripped down to where it's a empty case, and then we'll be able to start cleaning and rebuilding, painting, and all that fun stuff. I think I'll throw the cover back on the Monte so nothing gets on it while I'm working. And we'll bring you back when we got a little bit more progress. All right, we're back. We got updates. So the fluid itself, there was a ton of metal in it. I mean, just not any big chunks of metal or anything. Small flakes, and then just, really fine particulate kind of suspended in the oil. But so before, when I serviced the diff on this, when I first got it, you could just barely see little bit of movement back and forth with the carrier here. I mean, it wasn't that bad whatsoever, but you know, so that was, and I haven't put a ton of miles on this thing either since I've owned it. I mean, there's probably, I mean, maybe I've put 2,000 miles on this thing since I've owned it. So now you can take this. Well, let's see here. Helps if I hold the phone steady, but she is bad. I mean, we're talking probably at least 30 thou, 40 thou movement back and forth. So, I mean, those bearings in there, a taper roller bearing like that, require preload in order for them to work right. So with this, there would be no preload on them, and the bearings would just sit there and destroy themselves. So that's no bueno. So we're gonna keep digging here, get the axles out, get backing plates off and everything. Maybe we'll find some real destroyed bearings. We'll bring you back and show you that. Well, here we are again. It's Friday after work. Got home, opened up the shop here and get things cooling off, and came out here. I got the rear end is totally empty now. Pinions out, carriers out, axle seals and bearings are out. So it's pretty much an empty case here. I couldn't believe when I started cleaning things out and getting in all the nooks and crannies in here, like how much metal is kind of built up like behind where the bearing would ride and everything. So I might have to do a super good job cleaning all this out. And then also, I mean, we knew the rear end was bad. We established that with the amount of plane in there, but man, these bearings are just hammered like a boomer on bingo night, let me tell you. I mean, here's the bearing circle. Yeah, it's not smooth whatsoever. All the bearings have like a goldish hue to them also, like they've gotten super hot. So that's not good, because it might have been too, like it's just straight up that pinion was leaking when I bought the car. Who knows, he might have run her out of oil, and that's why everything looked like it got a little warm. But so I kind of got everything laid out here, kind of separate from over that, got a side specific laid out. The thing I'm debating now is whether or not I go ahead and there's bolts on the side cover there that can come off. Then I can empty out the carrier, clean up all my clutch plates, inspect them, see how they look, and whether or not I need new clutches and steels in there or not for the posi. We'll see, but I think I'm gonna have to empty out all that stuff so I can get in there and clean all the metal out of this thing, because there was just metal flake and metal dust everywhere. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start fitting the disc brake backing plates on that and doing all my trimming and drilling and everything that I need to do there, because I rather get all the metal cutting and grinding done before I take that case and pressure wash it and clean it all out and everything. So that's where we're at. I'll bring you back when I start kind of doing all that. All right, so we're back here. Currently working on fitting these disc brake backing plates. So step one of the operation is these two lower holes. You open them up to about 3/8, and then once you got those opened up, what you're gonna do is get out the old death wheel, and you come in here and you make two cuts here to where this goes bloop, just like so, becomes detachable, right? So once you got that off, then you can start sliding up your backing plate here, and then you can start fitting it, and you'll have to just come in here and gently kind of trim these down around the corner, so where you don't want to take too much material off, because you got two more holes to drill on either side here. And if you do that, then you're going to be kind of, you know, I don't know, you don't want to leave that too thin and risk it, you know, stress cracking or anything. So come in here, trim the minimal amount, put a chamfer on it so everything sits nice and flat against it, and you'll come out hunky-dory. So you can take this now here, and we can slide it onto here. Hold on. Okay, so then that's how that's gonna look. See how that's just fits over that, and everything is sitting, well, if I can, everything's sitting nice and flat here. There's no, you know, gaps hanging out or anything like that. Everything fits real nice, and that's kind of what you're going for there. All right, we'll bring you back here when there's more progress. All right, back again after some more progress. Backing plates for the disc brakes are all located and drilled. So you can see, so I opened up those bottom holes, and then I trimmed my top piece, and then so I slid these up, and then basically just used the existing holes in the backing plate as a drill guide. Started with a 3/8 bit in the hole so I could see where the center was, and then drilled a pilot through, and then stepped it up from there up to the 3/8. And then so after I drilled those through, came back over, you take the backing plate off. I kind of cleaned everything off, deburred everything, and kind of cleaned up all my cuts and everything so it looks a little trimmed and nicer and everything. All right, and I think that's probably about where I'm gonna stop for today. Is this case is all now ready to get degreased, and I'm gonna take the pressure washer and blast and clean everything out, and it'll be ready for some paint and then reassembly after that. All right, well, we'll be back in a while. Here we are, Sunday. We got everything disassembled, and we're working at cleaning things up. Just got done kind of pressure washing outside, cleaning the rear end up and degreasing everything, and I got the ultrasonic tank over there with all small parts and things going. One thing I thought I was gonna do is with this carrier is try and pull the end cap off there, and then pull all the clutches and steels out and springs and everything, and get them all cleaned up real good to where we were sure that there wasn't, you know, any little chunks of metal or anything like that in there, except I broke 2 Torx bits already trying to get those out. They are a T40, and then the one, my good snap-on one end was bending, and then once it kind of torqued and twisted, it didn't want to take out the rest of them. So we're just gonna leave that be, tighten those back up and clean it up the best we can, and it should be fine. It'll be fine, you know. I'll show you the rear end outside. The housing is drying. Walk this way. So we got this all dried off and everything. Well, it's not dried off, but it's cleaned up. It's drying now in the sun. Should get nice and warm and everything. Then I think we shall be ready to tape off the ends, tape up all the openings, and we can go ahead and spray this thing. We're just gonna paint it black, put it back. All right, we'll bring you back. Thursday, it's Thursday after work. Been at it for a while here. Sarah's been out here helping me in the garage, but we got everything back together. New bearings are all in. Just checked my backlash and my pattern, which looking pretty good. It matches kind of the factory wear pattern that was already there. I used the factory shim back on the pinion and everything, so I kind of expected it wasn't going to change or anything. Coast side looks all right too. So we were real close on the backlash too. It was about, you know, spec is like 6 to 12, and we're at the lower end at like 5. I'm not going to bother pulling this all back apart. If it winds a little bit, I'll live with it. Bearings are going to wear in a little bit anyways, and that backlash I imagine will open up. So I'm going to do some tidying up here, put some tools away, and then we're going to come back and then get axles in this and start putting the disc brakes on and everything. All right, let's bring you back. Friday night after work, we have made quite a bit of progress. We have brakes, kind of, sort of. Rotors are on. The caliper brackets, calipers, pads, all that stuff's all loaded. So those are all on there. We do not have yet the hoses clipped in or brake lines made yet. I have to get some bubble flare nuts and get the lines made to run from the distribution block here over top, over, connect up to the caliper. I've made my line holder honors for the rear end. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'll get the rear end installed back in the car. That way I will know shock positioning and then also coil spring positioning. That way I know exactly where I got to put this on the rear end and weld it in place to locate the line. The other thing I have to make is a kind of adapter clip to go on here for the parking brakes, because that is something I want to keep functional. I'm not just gonna run it without parking brake or anything. So I saw a design online that somebody came up with that I think I can replicate pretty easy with a little bit of not bar stock, but flat stock. And I got some thicker stuff that it ends up kind of looking like two U's at the end, and it clips over this, and then the brake cable goes through the hole and then clips in the end of it also. So and that's kind of where we're at right now. Got my fancy diff cover on. It's all torqued down, sealed, preload set for the bearing caps, even the little details, you know, put the old tag back on there just to make sure in case the car ever changes hands so someone knows. But so that's the next step, is get this back installed in the car, which we might have to wait a little bit because I think I'm gonna get some other parts coming for it. You're just gonna have to lower your expectations a little bit. All right, we'll bring you back when we got more updates.